And hey everyone, so nice to meet you all, you guys. And my name is Jessie Lin. And let me tell you a little bit about myself. I come from a family of teachers. I have no artist in the family. So my parents are teachers. They teach high school English. And of course, they are retired now. And I have uncles, aunts, teach every level of you can, from elementary to high school, middle school, and to university. And they are all teachers. And we have no artists in the family. So I am like the only one who like pursuing this different way. And naturally, when I was growing up, they didn't think it's a good idea to, live on art. They think I'm gonna starve if I pursue this way. So I was forbidden to draw since middle school. Yeah, before I went to high school, and this is my inspiration. I don't know if any of you know this. It's the Japanese manga Sailor Moon. I think it's quite popular and famous. And when I was in the junior high school, I was so obsessed with this Japanese manga, and this is my copy of the original artwork. And yeah, that was nothing in the creation field. I just copied the original art, and I love drawing and love coloring. And before I started to go to the high school, my mom forbid me to do this. So that's it. And this stopped. My art world, my world of art completely stopped. And that was like, I don't know how many years ago. And not until after I graduated and I went to business school. I studied business management for my bachelor's degree, and I did translation and teaching assistant job, and mainly I worked as a purchasing manager for a husbanding agency for ship owners. That's a very narrow field for 7 years. So that's completely separated from art for so many years, almost like a decade. So when I was close to 30, I thought, no, this is not what I want for my life. I still love drawing. So I'm back to digging, like, what can I do? I'm already this old. And I found watercolor, because at that time, watercolor is quite popular in China. And I started trying. That time I'm still working in the daytime. And I found this watercolor is beautiful. I love the texture. I love the transition between these brush strokes and the color, very like subtle change. And I pick up this as a hobby along the side. So I work at daytime and I paint at night. This like went on like a year. And after a year or so, not less than a year, I think. And I started to, because I post like my drawings on the internet, and the people start to see me. And there are like some gigs coming, and someone will say that, hey, I can pay you for drawing this. So I started to get 1 or 2 gigs, and after less than a year, I think, wow, I can really live on that. So I quit my day job, and I started to freelance, and that's the freelance. I have been freelance since then. I haven't gone back to day job since that. And because I'm from a teacher's family, so I'm very good at teaching. So after I have kind of mastered a little bit on watercolor, I started teaching online. So I have a lot of students back then, and I teach them. I learned by myself how to paint watercolors, and I also teach my students how to draw watercolors. So that part become a large part of my income. Yeah. And I also have some little gigs. So these are the watercolors back then. I don't think it can be called exactly as illustration. It's only like drawing flowers and objects, and it's like painting photos.
Jessie, I have to interject.
Yeah.
So you were
Yeah.
you were teaching before I had you at SCAD.
Yes,
Wow,
I was.
I feel so horrible that I didn't know this. We spent an entire quarter together, which I guess it's not very long. It's only 20 classes, but I didn't know this
Yeah,
about it. This is
yeah. My story is quite complicated and long. Yeah, I was so different from my classmates. They are
I did
so.
I did not I just yeah, I just didn't realize it. I mean, I guess you had some like pretty you had some camaraderie with them, you know, and I just
Mhm.
I didn't realize that you were on this other level at the time.
Not at a
Uh,
level.
yeah, yeah, you were like, I mean, it's not the typical situation. I guess maybe for grad students to already have been teaching or have some
Hmm.
experience in the field, but it didn't
Hmm.
seem like folks in that class had a lot of experience in the field.
Yeah,
And so yeah, keep going. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. This is really
it's
interesting.
okay. It's okay. Yeah, that's. I think that's a gift from my, teacher's family. Yeah, it's like in my blood. Um, and after that, I also started to explore a little more around the art field, and I found the photography. So these are something that I did at that time. I went to, this one is from the northern part of China, and I grew up around Shanghai, and we don't see snow that much. And when I went travel to the northern part of China, wow, that landscaping is fantastic. And I took some photos, and I also love to bake. And this is I baked this, and I took the photos. And from these photos I take photography, I don't think I can call it professional photography. I learned the composition, because you have to like balance everything in this picture, and I think that's a help in the illustration too. And this is when I really recognize illustration. This is the book that touched me, The Arrival by Shantan. I think you all know about this. It's very famous. I was
Yeah.
so like astonished by this book. Like there's no word in it, and you can see the story. You can actually feel the author's feeling, and every page you go through the story. Wow, this is amazing. I was like, wow, this is what I like to do. Not those watercolor things I draw every day, and I got bored. You draw like a flower, you draw like a cup, and that's it. And this is how much you can explore. You can tell stories, you can express your feelings, and I think I found my love. So this is the beginning, the real beginning of illustration. Sorry. And this is what I prepared before I went SCAD. These two, the first one and the third one, are actually from my portfolio, to applying for SCAD. And this is done in watercolor, and these two are in digital. And this is actually a story of myself, maybe, because my parents always, they are still questioning me now. If you are you getting enough gigs to support your life? I think it's only natural, but I kind of create the story from the very dark side of my own experience. This is like a girl with a very different shape of heart. It's different from the very normal shape of heart. She has these angles, and her mother wanted to they collect all these like bars and like candies, this normal shape of heart, and want to feed her. And she just couldn't let them do it, and she hid all these hearts, and she didn't eat them. And she still grow her very strange shape of heart. It's like my own side of dark side of my story. And this is a little gig before I went to SCAD. I got from this Daniel Wellington watch I created for them. It's very simple, and because this watch is for women, and they want to involve some women body profile and some plants, so I did this. And this is a little comic, very short story, kind of ironic, I created for my portfolio. It's called The Man in the Mask. In this story, the man didn't have a face, and every morning he gets up and like he has a room full of these masks and with different expressions. So he decided, okay, I want to go A, B, C, 3 places today, so I need to collect this mask and put them in my bag and carry it on my way. And when he goes to this office, and he will put on this, you know, maybe a fake laugh for his boss, and he put on a real laugh for his meeting his girlfriend. And at the end of the story, he was tripped on the nail on the pavement, and he lost all his masks through under a car, and at that time he is still wearing this smile on his face, so it's kind of ironic. So these are before SCAD, and these are during SCAD. I think you might remember this one, the first one, right? It's from your class.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
I still remember the strange techniques, so many steps.
I still show that. I mean, I still show that piece. I haven't taught that technique since SCAD, but I remember that piece. It came out great.
Yeah, thank you. And this is from Rick's class, and these two are from Tom's, and this is my thesis work. It's a children's book of my own story, and it's called Smoggy. Yeah, these are from my SCAD work, and at that time, I think my color palette is kind of, you know, I don't know, I was kind of afraid to use saturated colors, so these are all kind of muted and you know, mild colors. And after that, this is also during SCAD. Yeah, this happened at actually the second and the third quarter of my SCAD time, and I was invited to do a children's book of a Chinese version of The Little Prince, you know, The Little Prince, a children's book for the Chinese version. Of course, we have so many versions, and they are still creating new versions, and I was asked to do this children's book, and there are like 38, maybe 37, 38 spreads of that book, and I have to work on this, and I have to work on the school assignment. So that was 2 very, very busy quarters for me. And these are some spreads from that book, and Little Prince with fox and roses. So after I graduated, I work as a freelance illustrator, because when I was during SCAD time, I kind of wanted to focus on editorial, because there are so many different, you know, directions of illustration, like children's book and etc. And I found my interest, the most thing I'm interested in is in editorial. So when I was in SCAD, I also took like some classes. That's from not that class was, I think, taught by Tom, and that's for undergraduate, and I took that class because I want to explore more and build up more portfolios pieces for my career after SCAD. So I was so lucky to got an agent, and the agent contacted me actually during SCAD, and because I'm not a US citizen, and I said, well, can you wait until I graduate? And they said yes. So that was like a year before I graduated. So they waited like a year and until I graduated, and they like had me, and I got an agent. And I think that's helpful because I am not in the US, and I think it's a good thing to have someone, you know, representing me in the States and deal with all the paperwork and contracts and communication with the clients. Of course, they will take like 25 to 30% of the commission fee. And as a freelance illustrator, I except for editorial, I also do commercial and also murals and like graphic design, online teaching, everything related to art. And what I haven't done for now is a children's book. That's like a dream, but you know, for all the markets in the different fields in the illustration world, children's book is like paid the less, the least. I think it's like worldwide truth. It's not only in China or only in the US. Every place the children's book is like paid the least. And I think maybe I focused my energy too much on editorial. I actually got a chance last year, and that publishing house is like trying to contact me with my agent, and maybe creating a non-fiction children's book. And after one trial, and they said, no, we don't think this is children friendly enough. So I was like putting on a tag on me, like I'm not children friendly. I'm still trying to work on that, because I got my own children's book for my MFA thesis project, and it's like a dream for me, but I don't know if I'm suitable for that, so I'm still waiting for a chance. And this is my first gig. It's so exciting, and this came when I was already back in China. It's February, I think, last year, 2021, and I got this email from my agent, and they said, hey, I got a job for you. It's from Smithsonian Magazine. And I quickly Googled who is Smithsonian. I had no idea. And the article is about how to control deer population in the suburban areas. It's a very interesting topic, and these are 4 sketches I created, and they chose this one. It's like a needle. They will, give the deer a shot to control their birds. And these are 3 color comps, and they chose the first one. And this is the final piece. Yeah, it was so excited. And when I still remember how nervous I got when I'm doing this first gig. Yeah, and
it's really exciting. It's really. I'll never forget the first one, like the first big one, like Smithsonian's the big one, like
yes.
My first one was the New Yorker, and it was just
wow.
It was, I was so it does, you work in a way that you never worked before,
Yes.
It's exciting.
Yeah. And these are all the works after the first gig. So these are from last year, and these are from this year, and these are all editorial pieces.
Just completely took off.
And you can see from the color palette, I'm changing constantly. You remember when during the sketch, during my time in sketch, the color was like kind of mute and mild. Now I'm like, okay, I can use any color. I often use the color when you in the Photoshop color picker, when this little triangle. I like push myself to the limits. Like I want to try this color. I never used this, so now I don't think I have any limits on me.
It's crazy the client list you've cultivated in just this amount of time. Like this is like for somebody pre-2000s, like 90s, 90s illustrators, this would be like a 5 to 10 year client list,
Really?
Oh yeah, like to amass this many clients that fast, not necessarily the amount of illustrations you did, but just picking up this many clients that fast is really impressive. Yeah,
I feel so lucky, and I don't know, after this this year is like on fire. Last year is like, okay, I got 1 or 2 for a month or 2, and this year is like crazy. I don't know, maybe more people have seen my work. I hope
art directors talk, and it was very snowbally for me too. It was both in the States and overseas. So it's especially within this this particular avenue. It's very past the name alone. So yeah, keep going. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Okay. Okay, these are some commercials I did. Not that much. The first one is for a hotel called Moxie, and they opened their first hotel in Shanghai last year, and they like invited nine artists from different fields, like photographers and graphic designers, also bartenders and music DJs, and they create this very big opening event that night, and they want every artist to create something for their like hotel hall, big hall, and this is what I did. And this is because this hotel is for very young people, and they want this to be energetic and open to different people with different background. So I create these people jumping into a tank ocean ball, and they actually made this into a real installation. So this is a real ocean ball tank, and you can jump into this tank, and they had a lot of fun that night, and with this mural in the back. So that was fun. And these two are for Adobe, and this one is for Adobe Asia, and they found me, and they had that campaign last year naming Create for Good, and my topic is access to education. Like women, they need to have this equity to learn and to study. So these are all the possibilities that women, after like she got proper education, and what she could become. And this one is the most abstract one I've ever done since my career started, and this is for their new website. The theme is called synesthesia. It's like an ability, a certain amount of people they have when they like see the letters, they can see colors, and when like they can see letter A, and they said, okay, this letter A is red, and that will stay constant. And when they hear music, they said, okay, this music is round or triangle. Yeah, it's like they have this connection between their senses. So that's the most like abstract piece I've ever done. I create a twisted like field of space with these marble balls bouncing around to create something like sound, and I put these very bold strokes around it to mimic the feeling, kind of like feelings the people with synesthesia can feel. Yeah, this is actually a piece that I think I will never forget. And this is some mural I did for the local communities in Shanghai, and this one is done in hot summer, and this is in winter, and they want to create, because it's for the community people, and you cannot be too conceptual because they wouldn't understand. They will say, okay, what are you drawing? So these pieces are like you have to draw like what people can understand. They are walking a dog, maybe they are having a great time living in a very good environment, and having fun with their neighbors, doing ordinary like daily stuff. So this is a very long mural, and this is for different walls in a I think this is for an old people community. They have this home for old people, and they serve their dinners and lunches and things like that. Yeah, so there's not too much creation in this, but I had a lot of fun painting on the walls, and they have so many volunteers to paint with me because it's so long. I cannot simply do it by myself. So there are like 20 or 30 people on a day, and we like paint, and I had a sketch done, and we add the color together. And this is another thing I did. It's graphic design and illustration. This is from a Chinese client. They wanted to create this threefold brochures on mental illnesses, and they want like advocate the awareness of like the seriousness of people are having mental illnesses nowadays. And I up to now I've done 12 pieces, and these are also these are all the covers, and on the right side you can see how these brochures are laid out. And I did both the design and the illustration, and throughout all these 12 brochures I have the same color palette, so they will look like constant in the series. And this is there are like Alzheimer's and yeah, and also with parent and child relationships and anxiety, things like that. And these are some of my personal works after I graduated, and these are all from last year, because I am so busy this year. I haven't got any time to do any personal works this year. And these two are also my personal focus on the mental illness. And this is for Alzheimer's, and this is autism. And the third piece is something I created when, you know, the world is like changing. I feel like, you know, we are never getting back to the before, the world before pandemic, and like everything is falling to pieces. And I had that very negative emotion at that time. And so I created this piece like it's falling from like sky, and we have so many reflections on these sides of this. And yeah, this person is like falling from this thing, and she's like falling apart. And these are some demos from my online teaching of illustration. Yeah, and this is like how I teach them how to, you know, draw a sketch. You don't have to like draw exactly as you see from the photo or from what's real, and you can change the shape and color and everything, and texture, stroke. And this is an editorial piece, and this is a repeat pattern. Yeah, it's done originally. This is actually in traditional way, you know, cut the paper in half and, you know, switch the places and then cut another half. Yeah. So these are online teaching, and I think that's it. Thank you.
Amazing. I have a ton of questions, but
go ahead.
As always. But I'd like to let some folks chime in here who've been in the session, particularly those of you in my classes who are working on conceptual illustration pieces. This is somebody to talk to. Casey.
Hi.
Hi.
I was trying to find the proper way to like word this question, but I guess the simplest way is a lot of people get asked about just art block and everything, of like how you get over it. How do you get past trying to find like, well, you found your type of style, but when you went to SCAD, how did you get into like finding your style?
That's a very good question. I keep asking myself about that question a lot. And yeah, I was also inspired by so many illustrators before me, and I, you know, look at their answers about style, and I think it's just, you don't have to worry about style. Your style will find you. It's from somebody else. I didn't create that sentence. Yeah, and I think that's true.
Is that Goni?
I don't know. I actually didn't meet Goni. I've heard of him, but I didn't have these classes.
That's something that I've heard Goni say before. Just relax.
Yeah. It's like everybody is saying that.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. I also see it as like, you can force it, you know. Like there are people, I feel like, if you look at like somebody like Sterling Hunley, if you look at Sterling Hunley's sketches from when he was a kid, they look kind of interestingly similar to the way he draws now. And it's not to say that he hasn't evolved. He's obviously evolved, but you can just kind of tell he's almost kind of always drew the way that he did. And somebody like Gary Kelly as well. But there are some people I think who have really drastic shifts from year to year. Like from 2010 to 2011, I changed everything completely. So so my point is that it can find you, or you can force it.
Yes,
you can really force it out.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's like you can let it find you, and you let it happen naturally, and when you actually want to do something, you can really change it.
Yeah, and I think that's something that causes a lot of confusion, I guess, for lots of folks who profess to be interested in illustration. They just want an answer as to when this happens, when is the day, you know? Is there a follow-up for that, Kat, or do you want to continue with this dialogue?
That was mainly it, because it's something I've been kind of struggling with taking your digital and your advanced illustration class.
Yeah, and again, it's not something where you have to have it by the time you're done. I think I've said this to you before, but the style, I think, or just like the visual look of the work, it comes at different times for people, and people uncover it, force it, or develop it at different times. There's no deadline as to when you need to have a marketable look. I think that statement that I just made changes, though, based on your current situation. I was having a conversation about this with a friend of mine recently, where I felt like for me it was have a marketable look or die. At some point, it was very I was living in a horrible situation. You know, I didn't have money. Like, I was hungry. You know, I think that really helped a lot. The fact that I didn't have the privilege of having some kind of financial support system from someone else, you know. So there are those people in the industry that I think their life depends on it, you know, whether or not they can be successful. I wanted to ask you what your method is for your hustle, like your illustration hustle. You're doing the freelance stuff. You're not working at a firm, you know, and I know you supplement your teaching with the teaching income. But what's your practice for contacting clients? Like, how do you contact them? You know, or do you even do that anymore? Is it just something your agent does?
Actually, up to now, I haven't done, you know, personal promotion a lot, because I've heard people doing that. You send tons of emails to different editors, and and they will never reply. Yeah, I've done that once or two times, I think, but I didn't get the reply, and I stopped. And I just got the gigs from my agent, and I constantly post things on the internet, and I think that's okay for now. But I may, if I have more time later, I think I may want to try to, you know, do the email thing. I don't know if that will work, but people say it will work. But I don't know. I can try that. And certainly I don't have, honestly, I don't know how I'm gonna, you know, get in touch with other, you know, editors in other way. I don't know, because I'm not in the States and I cannot meet them personally, and what I can do is emailing them. And I think it's maybe I have if I have time, I would do that, but if I'm busy, I don't think I will do that. And,
so when you were at SCAD, you had your agent contact you while you're at SCAD. This is something that my students are really interested in, is the idea of pursuing representation. And it usually comes, that discussion usually starts with the how do you find an agent question, but it looks as if though the agent found you. So do you recall how they found you? Like, where did they see your work? The boss of my agent emailed me, and he said a colleague of him mentioned me to him, and I didn't ask exactly where, but I'm guessing maybe from some kind of winning list of a contest.
because that's the
Okay.
only, yeah, I think that's the only possible way they would know me.
Did you, at that time, did you have a website and social media presence?
I think I have a very rough sketch of the website, not the thing like that now. And I think I already had that website, and I'm posting to on the Instagram. Yeah.
Well, then, yeah, it must have been competition,
Yeah.
or social media. I mean, Instagram has become a big art director hub, like in terms of searching for illustrators via various hashtags.
Yeah.
And so, what's your experience been like with your agent? Like, are you happy with your agent?
From where I stand now, it's okay for me, because especially for those like commercial gigs, you have this very long contract, and you can take time to understand each terms of this contract, but that will, take a lot of time, and that's not something will interest me. I want to focus more on the illustration part, so I think that's okay. But every time when you see they took that 25% to 30% money out of your account, it's okay, it's a lot of money, but well, they do their job, and we are on the same boat. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you in an agreement with them where you can only work through them, or are you still allowed to continue to pursue freelance gigs on your own without them?
It's like exclusively in the North American market.
Okay, so if anybody contacts you, even if it's not through them, even if it's not somebody, you have to go through them. Okay, I've been noticing that lately with some folks. And yeah, because when I started with my agency, it was that they would only take the 20% that off of jobs that they actively procured for me. And then I still had the freedom to pursue clients on my own, just so long as they didn't know my agency, or it didn't go through my agency or find me. So that was actually really cool. And helped me quite a bit financially at the start. But since then, my agency has pursued the same practice that your agency is pursuing. What's the name of your agency?
Rep Art.
Rep Art. Okay. Yeah, that's become. I've noticed that. I think also with Astound, which is also an agency that I think that Alexandra Badiou is represented by, the Astound illustration agency. How many folks are on the roster at your agency? A lot of illustrators, or not that many?
I think about when I went through their when I go through their website, I think I didn't count, but I think there might be 100. I don't know.
They have quite a bit.
They are quite big, and they have these two companies, and I think one of the boss bought another company, and they have these two going on together. Yeah. At that time, I got their email during SCAD. I asked Rick for help, and I asked him, okay, is this good? Is this okay? And he said, okay, I've heard of this company, and they are like done this for a long time. And he said, okay, you can go with it. It's safe.
Interesting. Yeah, that tends to be the average, like 50 to 100. Like Snyder, New York, I think has a little over 100. Henson Frank has a little less than 100. Or at least the last time I checked. So that's quite a big roster.
Yeah.
And is it just illustration that they represent, or do they represent design and photography and other things as well?
I think it's just illustration, and they have these two companies. One focuses more on editorial, and the other, I think, more on commercial things like
So your story is very similar in terms of how you found that agent. It's like a combination of hard work and getting your stuff out there, into the competition so that people can look at it and see it, and then also a little bit of luck as well, right? Because they found you, and I think that goes to show how important these competitions are. We do submit on behalf of y'all here at MTSU to all of these noteworthy competitions to try and get your names out there. I always tell people, it's more of a business decision than it is winning a trophy. To get in the pages of 3x3 and Creative Quarterly, like art directors look at these things. Like most of them would probably rather look through these magazines to see who's who in the industry, than answer, emails from people. So, I mean, I guess it depends on the person, but it's definitely a good business decision to consider submitting to these competitions. And I wouldn't be surprised if you did learn that your agency actually found you via a competition. Yeah, because I think you've been longlisted and shortlisted for the World Illustration Awards, right?
Yeah, that was last year, 2021.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, like that's a
Thank you.
huge database
Yeah.
for people to find new talent. Another organization I've been looking at recently, I don't know if you've seen them, Doug, is the One Club for Creativity.
Oh yeah, I know that.
Right? Yeah, like
Yeah.
I didn't notice that they, like, I knew the One Club for a while, but I didn't realize that they had like an illustration sector or like an illustration component until I started seeing some of the folks I'm fans of on social media sharing their cubes, their silver cubes, bronze cubes, their gold cubes. Ed Kinsella picked up a couple golds from the One Club. And they apparently have a really big network as well, which is amazing.
But they charge like twice the cost.
Yeah, I think, yeah, so
it's so expensive.
Yeah, I think it's like, what is it, like, I think 40, and that's not even with the
So 100 like for one
it's
single piece. Yeah,
that's why you get a really nice cube, I guess. Yeah.
Well, yeah. But wow, I didn't realize it was 100. Geez.
Yeah, it's so expensive.
Is that for the, because I know they have like a young guns category, like where it's like new and emerging talent category, and then a professional category.
That's I think maybe professional category. Yeah.
Wow, that's
too much.
Is that more or less than the Addies, Doug?
I think it's less. I know for the Addies, for the professional, I think it's like 100, maybe 120, maybe even more depending on the category. But it's astronomical.
It's crazy because it's like, I don't know what the ideology is behind that. Like, how are you going to find what is truly the best, if you're doing that, if you're putting a financial burden on folks who are submitting to these things. Anybody want to chime in? Have a question at all for Jessie?
I have a question, Jessie. I think everyone's, reacts to this way, but especially students, like, when they see a piece of artwork, whether it be on Instagram or on the World Illustration Awards, they see an amazing piece, they like it, and they think, oh, I want to do that. But I think the individuality behind it, like how much time goes into it, I think that's always really unique, is understanding the process just a little bit more. So is there like a particular part of the process that you enjoy the most? And is there a particular part of the process that, not that you dislike, but maybe that's more the struggle, or it's like, if you get past this part, it's going to be even better? Is there something about the process that you could tell us a little bit about your work, or about you behind it?
Yeah, I think the interesting part, also the most labor consuming part is in the sketching part, not the coloring part. When I got to the color stage, I can really relax because it's like 80% down. And when you are doing these sketches, you have to come up with some different ideas for an article from different angles. It really takes time and energy, and that one is like very time and brainstorm and time consuming and a lot of energy engaged. And that's also the fun part. It's like two sides of a coin. And you enjoy that part, but there's a lot of struggle and in it. But you can really relax in the coloring. For me, I can really relax in the coloring stage, and I can put on a video or a television aside when I can watch it, and I can color it. But when I'm doing the sketch, I really have to focus. I couldn't even listen to anything. I really have to be very quiet. So that's really done in the middle of the night. Yeah.
It's funny you say that, because I do comics. I know a lot of people who do comics, and I feel like they're the same mindset. Like, when they do breakdowns from a script, it's like they need to be in almost in complete isolation, because like you're planning so many components of like a composition, how did that composition piece off another composition, how you telling the story visually. But you're right, and I've heard a lot of people say like as you get to the coloring, every stage gets a little bit easier, but especially that coloring stage, it's a lot more fun, but a lot less, sounds bad, but a lot less relies on the success of the piece on that stage.
True. It's true.
The previous stage was the most important, whatever stage that might be. So
yeah.
I literally said the same exact thing you said, Jessie, to my students the other day, that I can't listen to anything, can't watch anything when I'm coming up with the idea, when I'm sketching it out. But then there gets to be that point where I'm just painting, where I can just sort of fall into the zone and meditate and watch TV. To piggyback off of Doug's question on process, you have we're working on conceptual illustration in the digital and advanced class right now at MTSU, and or at least my classes. And one of the biggest issues that folks have is thinking conceptually. I'm gonna share my screen real quick, and it'll stop sharing you for just a second. But one of the biggest issues that the students have is thinking conceptually and how to come up with the concepts themselves. And I've tried to break things down for them in a few ways, where thinking about images that have a double meaning, like this is a conceptual illustration that has a double meaning. The brain is a brain, but it's also a maze, right? So you come up with that idea, and you also come up with ideas that manipulate 2 and 3D space. So you have, it's kind of like this, the surrealism of illustration, the conceptual components. I think this is one that manipulates 2 and 3D space. And then you also have some that utilize, or do you? I'm not sure that you have any that utilize negative space, like where the negative space is the concept. But this is also a double meaning. How do you come up with these concepts? Like, beyond just the idea of sketching out these concepts, what exactly is going on in your mind when you're thinking about conceptual illustration devices and how to solve these problems?
Well, I think there are like 2 different ways. One is because I love editorial illustration, I see a lot of others work on editorial, and it's like there are some kind of pattern you can grab. And when you think of certain subject, and these are like the common things they will generally use in this like subject, because like in thinking, and people will think of brain, like in maybe isolation, people were thinking of people in a bulb, things like that. And that's like a stereotype you can catch when you are drawing that kind of subject, and you can learn from others. And the other thing is like you can pick some keywords, because when you are given a topic, you can like break this topic into different keywords, and you can like brainstorm it into even like many even more keywords, and you can link these keywords together. And with maybe 1, 2, and 4 keywords, you can create one image, and with like 2, 5, and 6, you can create another image. So that's like how things work. Yeah. So
you think about this stuff, or do you think about it and then jot it down and make word walls and things like this?
Yeah, I sometimes this goes inside my head, and I don't have to like write it down. And sometimes when I really have to think it straight forward, I will write these keywords down and like doodle on my paper, and can trying to find some links between these keywords.
Yeah, I think that's basically what I'm trying to put forth in these classes, is word association, and thinking about exercising your head in terms of like, how many idioms do you actually know, and how many idioms can you actually relate to? Break a leg and all this stuff, right? Like these fun little like sayings that I think, because I think personally, I think concept art is kind of like surrealism, but not in so much of a chin scratcher arena. I think that surrealism kind of like makes you have to think, and you may not really understand it. But I think conceptual illustration, did I say concept art? No, conceptual illustration should be like surrealism, but in a way that people can understand and relate to pretty quickly. And
Yeah.
I think that you hit that nail on the head very well. So I mean, yeah, I guess word association and thinking about linking those words together is a really nice way to sort of like start the juices flowing in the brain, trying to understand how conceptual illustration can be built from the ground up. Does anybody have questions on that or want to add to that, especially since it's something that we're diving into in a couple of my classes? I know some of the students in here are currently trying to push through a conceptual illustration.
Yeah, okay, so I have a question because like I love your art. Like there's just so many different things. Like I really like a lot of like the nature stuff and the environments. So I'm like wondering, because you have like so many different images, like what is your inspiration for all of them, you know?
I've been asked for this question a lot. What is my inspiration? And I actually don't have an exact answer. And I think maybe inspiration came from everyday life because I like to watch like social news. I like to focus on what's happening around the world, and I care about the world. I watch like especially those negative news when bad things happen. So when you keep these feeds inside your brain, and you like, and because you hear something, you will think about something, and you will have your own opinion. And when that one thing stacks on top of another, and you will like form a certain your personal opinion, and I think that will bring some inspiration to the illustration. I don't know if that explains the question.
Oh no, yeah, you're good.
Thank you.
And there really is like a clear sense of improvement when it comes from your work from just like a few years ago to now as it exists in its current state. I think this is also a kind of hot topic question, is how do you intentionally improve, right? I think that's from however a few years ago to now, when it comes to the polish, the level of finish that your stuff has, the rendering that your stuff has, is it on purpose? Is it a sort of unconscious evolution? I think that, as we mentioned earlier, the Smithsonian was the first big one, right? The New Yorker was the first big one for me, and in that moment I saw improvement because of the stakes, right? It was the most money I'd ever seen, that I was ever going to see for art at the time. And I didn't know if I would ever get to do it again. That was another fear of mine. It was just like, maybe this is the one time that the New Yorker calls, and then I get it, and this is great, and I'm thankful for it. But there was a huge sense of improvement in that one assignment, just because of how terrified I was about it. So have you noticed the improvement that I'm talking about regarding your work? And if so, are you consciously improving, or are you taking steps to evolve and improve intentionally?
I think it happens both intentionally and naturally. And for some, just like you said, when you get this very like big client and wow, I got to work for them, I really have to put a lot of energy on this piece, and I will do more research than I usually do, and I can certainly improve the quality of this piece. And also when it happened naturally, because I did a lot of, from this year, as you can see from my profile, I did a lot of for a local magazine in China. It's called Sanlian, and they really like to focus on those social issues, especially those negative social issues, like people got bullied over the internet, things like that, and their turnarounds are so tight. It's like 2 pieces in 1 day or 3 pieces in 2 days, things like that. And I have very tight schedule, and I really have to think a lot, and I really got burned out in a period of time, early this year. And you really have to work so much on different topics, and I think that's really an exercise. a very good experience.
Mhm.
You have to come up with so many different topics, so many different pieces in a very short time period, and it like forces you to think, forces your brain to work, and I think it's good exercise. Yeah.
I agree. And I think that for some folks, some students, they've yet to really experience that feeling of like getting pushed off the diving board into the deep end. In a lot of ways, school is very safe, and it's I think that it's almost kind of like training to be like a firefighter, and you do all this training and you're doing a really great job and you're at the top of your class, but it isn't until you actually see a fire where, you know, and you have to like save somebody's life, where you realize like, who you actually are, right? I guess, maybe in a way. And I think that was, for me, I know that probably is like an intense comparison, because we're obviously not fighting fires, but like for me, it was a big change. Like it was a big difference between submitting work to like Rick level for an assignment, right? And versus actually getting paid to do something that was going to be published that everybody was going to see. That was a very big difference. And I think that in those moments, that's where art block is just not even a thing. It's like, you just have to get to work. It's like very, and I think that's maybe in those moments when people actually realize who they are. And I think that you're right in that in this short period of time, you probably don't even realize how much you've improved, because just you've been doing one after another. You probably haven't had time to really sit back and ask yourself like, or assess your situation. And so, I mean, so you said you felt burnt out. I was going to ask you like what your work-life balance was like. Do you feel like, so you said at least at one point you felt burnt out, but overall, is this, it's been lucrative financially, but are you happy? I guess is the question. Like, are you happy doing what you're doing? Because I think it's an important question for folks, especially folks in here who are interested in the this specific avenue of the industry, right? Like, are you content? Do you feel like you have free time for mental health and to take care of yourself and so on?
I think I am happy because you've got a lot of gigs and they usually come together. I don't know why. Because when you are free, you are like free, you don't have a job. And when you got one job and the second one came and the third one came, they are just like stick together. And yeah, that's the life of a freelancer, I guess. And you got your own free time. It's different from people taking their day jobs. And yeah, I can really manage that. I can really work like through the night and the whole night on a very urgent thing, and I can sleep later. I can do that, and I think I'm comfortable with that kind of pace. And I have my free time. I do baking and I exercise. I go to gym. And yeah, I think that's a very comfortable lifestyle for me.
Good. That's great to hear. So I think that's also important too. That's something I talk about quite a bit in classes, mental health, and I think it's good to get the perspective from other people who are currently doing it. So I would love it if you could share your screen so we can see that. So you can walk us through your process.
Okay.
So you're working primarily in Photoshop, correct?
Yeah, Photoshop, yes. This is a piece I did for another local magazine in China, and this is nothing too conceptual in it. It's like they want to create this harmonious place for when for the highways, because when you drive a long time, you need some place to rest, and these are like some stations and places for drivers to rest, and people are they're resting and they're taking photos and they're eating things. Yeah, that's a place of having a good time during your travel. And I just add trees, plants, and houses and cars and the people doing different stuff in this. It's a very long image vertically. And this is a coloring method I've been using recently. I think it started early this year, not from last year. Last year I painted colored quite differently. this is also something I learned from other illustrators, and I saw their progress, and I think this is interesting. And from this method, every layer of my file is set into multiply. So when two color layers like come together, and they will form this edge when they are not so aligned with each other, and they have this overlapping area, and you will have this like very dark line between the two color blocks, kind of like screen printing. And I like this effect a lot. So I've been doing this a lot lately with this method. So when you see the layers block in the Photoshop, I would name these each layer with this color. So it will save a lot of layers because one color is like a layer. So there are like 6 or 7, I last count, in this file. So I only have 6 or 7 layers in this file. But it is a labor consuming method because you have to draw like every element with their edges so, neatly. You cannot like when this is blocked in behind another object, you don't have to be so careful about the edges. In this method, you have to be so careful about every edge of every element. It's so labor consuming, but it's fun.
And so this is what it looks like after you've done the color studies and you've decided on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I chose like 6 colors, and but you will see me changing some of the colors later because one color is in a layer, so it's very easy to change.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just about to ask that, if you manipulate them after the fact. And do you is this the kind of line work you would send to an art director?
Yes.
Nice. Is this how fast you draw as well?
No, of course not. It's accelerating.
I do have a question. So you said you set to every layer is to a multiply, right?
Yeah.
Do you do any changing of your colors at the very end to meet like within like a total ink density? So you make sure it doesn't print out too dark, or you don't get any type of bleed in your colors. Is there anything that you change at the very end?
I think I will check constantly. You can see I add a layer of black white on top of everything. Yeah, so I will open and close that layer to check if I got the values right.
Okay. But do you ever change to see how much is in like because you're working in RGB right now, do you convert it to CMYK yourself, or do you just let whoever is printing it do that? What's your process for that?
I don't think they ever asked CMYK. Only for one client, I think they asked me to change the final piece into CMYK because they want me to do it, because they want the final piece to look like what I want. But for most editorial works, they only accept RGB. I don't think they will have mind the difference when they print in CMYK. Yeah.
Doug, I feel like if you did editorials, you would get so mad at the print quality and the magazines. There was a time where the Boston Globe printed, it was the Boston Globe. They printed one of my illustrations over top of a pre-existing illustration in that layout.
Wow.
And just forgot to remove the other one.
Wow.
I don't ever expect any of these magazines or publications to print anything well. And there are times too, I don't know if this has happened to you, Jessie, where an art director will up the saturation of your piece. They'll put it in Photoshop or something and change the levels, or they'll use the burn tool or the dodge tool to brighten something up, and then that goes to print. I've learned to make peace with the print. So it's I don't think there's, even if anybody asked me for some kind of color profile settings, I don't think it would even matter based on the tooth of a newspaper or a magazine.
Yeah.
It's in my experience, they don't I don't think they pay close attention to it. And then when they do make changes to your work,
Mhm.
it's really bad. I don't.
I actually never came across when they changed my color. Yeah, but I know their quality of printing. Yeah, I don't think they mind that, and I think most of them also have this online version. You can see digitally. So
Yeah.
that's maybe another reason. Yeah, they don't mind.
Rolling Stone changed my colors.
Wow.
LA Times changed my colors, and I'm not
Wow.
talking about like a little bit, like a lot, like
Wow, that's crazy.
like normally what I try to do, like as just a form of habit and celebration, is to request a few copies in the mail.
Mhm.
And there are times where I just don't even bother requesting because you see that it just came out so bad. But in the
Wow,
end,
that's crazy.
you get paid, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
they get what they want, and you can
Yeah.
you can use the good one as the portfolio piece, right?
Yeah. That's you can use the good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when I work with some clients that I don't want to share, I worked with them. Yeah, I just hide their piece and I never show this piece in my portfolio. Or I have another version of my own and I will put that one in my portfolio. Yeah, I always do that.
Back to children's book. What crazy person said that your work is not what?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That doesn't make sense. It's like, look at that little girl with the pigtails walking the little dog. Like, what?
I don't know. They may that's something they want to do for I think it's like a national no, not national, nature thing for like different states in the US. Like that's like a series of books and they want to, I forgot which state. I think it's California. Yeah. And I put that trial piece in my portfolio. I actually like that. It's the Bixby Bridge, that piece. And I also did another thing, another one with the city view of, I forgot it was Los Angeles or San Francisco. It's San Francisco, I think. And there are some children involved in that picture, and I don't know why they think it's not children friendly. I didn't put that piece in, but I put the bridge thing in that in my portfolio. I can show you that.
I think it's only a matter of time before you get a children's book gig, because
Yeah,
this
definitely.
is very, very much so in alignment with that.
I hope so.
Which is crazy because you've seen the variety of different styles of artwork for children's book, and like, how can you say like this is not it? Like, if anything, it is. Like,
Well, it's like I maybe put a mask on over that. You can show the publisher's name. And this is the piece, yeah. I put in
yeah.
portfolio, yeah, and this is without people in it, and there's another one, this one, yeah, there are children's in it, and I don't know why this is not children friendly.
I mean, I guess I don't know. So these are the pieces that they saw that made them make that.
Yeah, actually, I did these pieces for a trial. They want to see how I work with these things, and yeah, after I did these two pieces, they said no.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
the Mickey Mouse and the Ferris wheel too inappropriate for children. That's silly.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think, I mean, seeing it there blown up, like the beach scene with the California, it also showcases like how versatile style is. You know, it could very much so be advertising as well. Like advertising administration eats this stuff up. Like there's somebody on our roster at my agency who has a similar look to you. Like they live in a very similar style family. And they recently did a bunch of illustrations for Royal Caribbean, and I can only imagine how much that job was. It was probably like a $30,000 job. So so tell me about your perspective on competitions. Do you try to submit to them pretty regularly, or what is your perspective on that?
Yeah, I think half of the result is based on luck from my point of view, yeah, and half is from your quality of work. And yeah, I want to keep doing that for, you know, submitting each year to those major competitions. And yeah, that's like a advertising fee for a freelancer, and you just have to save for that. You know, it's the cost you can never, you know, avoid. You have to spend that money.
And do clients do you ask clients where they found your work typically?
Not really. I never ask.
Yeah, because I think it's interesting to hear, because I've gotten mixed reviews from people where they're active in terms of submitting to competitions, and yet they never, when they survey their clients to ask them where they heard about their work, some of them are like, I've never heard of an art director who found them in Creative Quarterly, or an art director who found them in ComArts or 3x3 or whatever it may be, and some of them have. And I've just found, I wish that survey was more one-sided than it actually is, just to kind of reveal whether or not competitions are really great business decisions, once and for all. Like, I wish there was a statistic on that, but anecdotally, I've only heard mixed reviews on that. Like, depending on who the illustrator is, it's like, no one's ever seen my stuff in Creative Quarterly, or, oh yeah, all these art directors found my stuff in Creative Quarterly. It's really interesting, because I think it's interesting and also unfortunate that we don't, I can't give a solid answer on that to who asked me that question. You know, like, I'm sure that they do, but I guess you can only really know if you're surveying them to see where they found your stuff.
And when you see like people like Yuko Shimizu, they are still like entering those competitions.
Yeah.
Like, wow, they are already like big people in this field, and they are still entering, and we have to compete with them.
Yeah.
They're entering every year. Like,
Jesse's talking about Yuko Shimizu, and who is the, I think, most recent Hamilton King Award winner at the Society of Illustrators. Unless they've crowned someone with that honor recently, I don't know, but I think it was 2018, 2019, where I had the privilege of being in the show, and I got to see her accept the award, and it was beautiful. Which is, for those of you who don't know, the highest honor you can receive at the Society of Illustrators is the Hamilton King Award. But Yuko is just always on fire, and yeah, she's one of those people. It's like, you're competing against Yuko, you're competing against Bill Meyer, and it's just I just wish it was clearer on how effective these organizations are in terms of actually putting out these illustrators, because they all make their promises. You know, it's like, we send our magazine to 4,500 art directors worldwide, or and personally, Jessie, like, I don't get a lot of clients who find my work in those magazines.
Me neither.
I think that the recent thing, the Communication Arts Best in Show, I think that caused a few people to notice things. But just being in the magazine, I haven't received, because I always ask just to cultivate that survey. You know, like, where did you find my work? Almost always Instagram. And it's barely any of these competitions. But I don't want to speak ill of these competitions, because they're great. You know, like, they're big institutions that, and many of them have been around for years, and they're well respected and so on. But it is a little unfortunate, anecdotally, that I haven't noticed much of a benefit beyond just, you know, having the honor of sitting in the pages, you know, with some heroes. You would think there would be more than that, I guess, or at least from my perspective.
I guess because maybe every year you see so many, new talents emerging, and there are just so many people, and maybe for each and single person, you just don't get that enough attention.
Yeah. This is kind of like therapeutic. Like I'm watching like what the video is doing, and every time I think you're about to go out of the lines, you don't. And it's like a visual ASMR, right? Like is anybody else watching this where it's like she's not messing up at all, and then she uses those really straight lines, so you're like turning the smoothing all the way up, right, to get those like super straight lines, or what is it you're doing to get the straight lines?
I get straight line when I hit the shift, but
oh, okay, that's right.
Yeah.
That is.
So with the circles, because before SCAD, when I was developing my interest back in the art field, I kind of had myself trained a little bit. Besides watercolor, I did something in the traditional Chinese painting, the ancient Chinese painting, and they use this very thin brushes and with these very thin lines, and your hand has to be not touching the paper. Your hand is in the mid-air, and you have to draw these very straight and smooth lines, and that exercise actually helped me a lot with my stability of my hand.
I gotta ask you a question about that, because do you know Hannah Lee?
Yeah, sure.
I talked with Hannah for a while about her education in art in China. Apparently she said, and I'm not sure if I'm remembering this correctly, but she said that if you wanted to study art in China, that you had to like pass some serious tests.
Yes.
So did you do anything like that?
No, because I went to business school.
Oh, that's right.
I was like excused for that, because I heard that is a lot of pain for that test.
Yeah.
So many people, competing with each other and drawing the same stuff, and there's so many works lying on the ground, and teacher just the examiner, they walk around and use a big stick to pick. Okay, this one is right. This one we can give her admission. That's crazy.
That's a test that all kids have to go through. At what age?
At it's like a it's like that exam when you are attending college after you graduate from high school. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, and they have to take lessons to train for that test, and that test, it's, in my opinion, that test is like kind of old-fashioned, and they are so stubborn. And they have like kind of certain style they accept, and you have to be like that style, and you don't have much freedom in that. That was part of, I think, what Hannah was talking about, but I'm sure that the lessons are like invaluable, even if you don't like stick to that specific form for the remainder of your career. I would love to know more about because she showed some pictures, and it looked pretty devastating. It looked very that's true. I've watched that video she showed. That's true. It looked really intense. And you have to be like on top of those people, and then you can get admitted to those top art schools in China. Perfect line. Any thoughts from anybody on this? Questions at all for Jessie?
A question?
Sure.
Oh, I was just wondering, when you decided to come back to school to pursue art, how long did you take to do that? Did you wait like a year and like start practicing, or 2 years, or
preparing to attend art school?
Yes.
It took like about 2 years. Because 2 years. Because I was attracted to watercolor, and then I found illustration. And when I found the illustration, I decided I have to study it because I don't see any good opportunities within China mainland, and I seek opportunities outside China, and that's when I decided to pursue a degree outside China, and I started to prepare, and that took like 2 years because I have to build the entire portfolio. I didn't have any piece to show by then, so I have like 2 years because I have to work at the same time. So yeah, that take a little longer.
When you were doing that, did you have like any art mentors, or is that just kind of something you did solo by yourself?
Yeah, I have you can call that a mentor. We have this, it's like a business. When you have this agent, they can prepare you for applying art school from abroad, and yeah, you have to pay money to them, and they have this teacher one-to-one, and I have this teacher. She is like in charge of my case, and she will give advice on my projects in my portfolio, and she will like lead me through the whole process. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, my mic was off. Do you normally keep the line art in at the end, or do you take it out?
Sorry?
Oh, is my mic still off?
No, it's.
Do you normally keep the line art in at the end, or do you take it out at the end?
No, I take it out. It's
Okay,
it's just,
and you're adding,
yeah.
and you're adding other. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of stylization of your figures and your characters,
Mm-hmm.
have you always just kind of been doing it like this, or did you like, I don't know, dedicate some practice to your characters?
Yeah, that's something have been bothering me because as you see through my work, I have different kind of characters in those. Because for this kind of flat, scene thing, I usually draw like characters like this. But when there is a piece, you have to focus on one person. It will tend to more realistic style. I will have more shades on the people's face, and with specific on the eyes, nose, and the mouth. But with these people, I never draw their eyes or mouth or things like that. Yeah, I just keep them simple. So I think I have different styles on people, and that's been worrying me for a period of time. But I think I get over with it now. I can have different style. Yeah.
I was actually just coincidentally talking for about an hour and a half today with an illustrator named Louisa Jung. She's an Argentinian illustrator, but she lives in Germany now. Mm-hmm. And she lives in a similar style family to you. And she had contacted me. She wanted to have a Zoom session to talk about how to, because she has a lot of these scenes like that you have where the characters are small and they exist in a big environment, or mm-hmm. the characters are small and they exist in an environment where the concept kind of reigns supreme. And it's more about the concept and less about the people, but the people are there as like a sort of afterthought kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And she was wanting to figure out a way to create compositions that focused more on people and faces and less mm-hmm. about the environment. And she was having issues like taking these smaller characters that you have here, just like this, and then enlarging them and then putting the same love that she puts into an entire piece into just the character, so that it's mm-hmm. just about a portrait and not about everything else. And mm-hmm. it was kind of hard for me to respond to it. Like I wasn't really sure, because she showed me like they like commissioned her, Rolling Stone Germany commissioned her to do a portrait of Elvis Costello. Mm-hmm. She showed me that portrait, and you can tell she's trying really hard on it. It looks great, but it doesn't look like her other characters in her pieces, like the pieces that are busier pieces that have a bunch of little characters with less detail, like you said, the characters that you don't draw the face or the eyes, right?
Yeah.
And I think one of my pieces of feedback to her was to blow up one of her characters, like this guy right here reading this paper, like blow up that shape and then work into that shape and add more detail, focus on specific areas like bone structure and hairlines and expression and so on. But beyond that, I felt like I wasn't really able to help her as much, because it's a really interesting query, you know, like how can I take my small characters that have less detail, you know, how do you even respond to that question? But I think it seems like what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's something that you're struggling with too.
Yeah, I think that's almost impossible to, you know, put when you are drawing big characters and small characters and they look like exactly the same style. I think it's very hard to achieve that. I can show you some pieces I did. It's actually from last year. I actually worked for a magazine cover. It's on here. Let me see.
Because a part of me, like, especially if it's like the end of the day and I'm really tired, my response to that question is, draw your characters bigger and put more detail in them. Like, I don't know. Do you get what I'm talking about, Doug?
Yeah.
That's stuff I thought about a lot before too. Is because I think what you're doing such a good job at, I think you're almost doing like the backwards way. Like, people try to simplify the work so much and come up with a very good shorthand, and like, how can their stuff read small and still be iconic? And like, now you want to make it bigger and like add the stuff on there that we've already think about default. Like, we see these details in people's features all the time.
Yeah.
And so, like, maybe it's, I mean, I'm not trying to tell you how to do your art, of course, but like, it's like, maybe it just doesn't need those details. Like, maybe for that approach, like, that's what it is. Cause I think it's so successful the way it is right now. It's kind of like, I don't know, what's a good example? Like, you see a drawing of Rick and Morty or like any other type of cartoon, like, and you see like a close-up of it, like, you don't want to see like extreme details, but when they do, or if they do in like an exaggerated style of it, who used to do that a lot? Like Ren and Stimpy, like, I don't know if you've ever seen that before, when they had like these really close-up versions of one of the characters, it would be like this illustrated style, but it'd still be to the same quality or same house style of the character. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's so funny because I was looking at your work and it makes sense, like, why I don't need a lot of details or faces, because there's a lot of, the detail is the things that populate your composition. It's like the amount of like cars, the amount of buildings, the amount of figures, like that is the detail in the composition. Is it the detail individual item? So it's like,
yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting that you bring that up, because it's like, in many instances, the golden egg is, how can I simplify?
Right.
Like you said, it's going the other way. I'm going to share my screen real quick, just to do the Ren and Stimpy thing. I don't know if you remember Bob Rossetto, Doug, but I interviewed him. He's a huge Ren and Stimpy fan. Look at this.
I can see that.
Like,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's just it brings that like classic Ren and Stimpy shape language.
Yes, I just sent that to you today. Yeah.
This is Luisa's work. We were talking, and this was her Elvis Costello piece, right? So beautiful piece. But what I was saying is, why not this, right? Like, these are her tiny little characters that you see in her pieces. They kind of take the backseat. They're more just kind of like doing things to enhance the concept, which is what I think most of your stuff does. Like, it's that the character is not like this, you don't need to see the wrinkles in their face, right? They're there to do something and to move something and to manipulate something. But it's like, I think her question was like, how do I get this shape language to feel like that Elvis Costello? And that's where I got lost. I was like, I just don't know. Like, I guess draw bigger, like practice using traditional media that in larger formats. I think that's an important thing for anybody to do, is to try long form art, like that takes like a year to finish. I know that's like a nightmare for a lot of people, but like one piece that you work on like every day for a year. could be a really, it probably the worst thing in the world, but you like will learn things from it, But anyway, that's not your problem. That's Luisa's problem. I was talking to Luisa about this today, but it did seem like you expressed a little bit of the same sentiment where you were like, how to translate the smaller people to like focus more on the bigger people. Let's see that John Lennon again and the others too.
Yeah, because when you're asked to draw people specifically with their, facial, eyes and noses, it's often that this is a famous people, and you have to draw like that people. So you don't have a choice actually. You just have to draw like that people. And when you are doing these little people, they don't have to look like anyone. They just, random people. So I think that's two different story.
If I was still your teacher, I would give you a project to make John Lennon look like one of your smaller people.
Wow.
Like to take you can only make John Lennon using the same amount of marks.
Wow.
You did with this character here with the green shirt on. I feel like you could do it. I feel like that would be so rad. Not to say that this John Lennon doesn't work. It works.
Yeah.
It's just there's that. I think that was part of Luisa's concern was the
maybe with his gestures or hairstyle, and you can recognize that's him. Yeah.
It's like you ever see Al Hirschfeld stuff?
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to mention. Yes.
Right? Like just 2 lines. Just I've shown Al Hirschfeld stuff in the past, but whenever I think of like the simplest thing, I think of Al Hirschfeld stuff. I'm gonna hijack your screen again to show Al Hirschfeld.
Okay.
But this is Al Hirsch. Have you seen this stuff, Jessie?
Yeah, I think so.
Just look at this. That's Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
I would have never been able to do that ever. And I love the Al Hirschfeld story. How he wanted something different, went to a movie theater to sketch what was on the screen, and realized he could not see his sketchbook in the darkness of the theater, and did all of these sort of like partial blind contours, and that was what kick-started this look. Like that is so jealous. Yes. But anyway, we're coming up on time. Does anybody have any last minute questions for Jessie? I know we've been talking about a lot of stuff. Well, any last minute advice you have for young aspiring illustrators, Jessie?
Well, I guess just keep drawing, keep working. If you don't get gigs for a period of time, you have to give yourself a personal project. Just keep the flow going, and you can rest for a while, but don't rest too long, because that because when you just take too long a break, I think that feel will go away, and it's hard to pick up it again.
You sound like my physical therapy coach. We're only gonna rest for 10 seconds, run for 1 minute. I 100% agree. You need to feel pain, everyone. Everyone needs to feel some pain.
Yeah.
And so I think that's great, and you're fantastic. I'm so proud of you, and
Thank you.
And so thankful that you did this with us. And it was really great to catch up with you. Thank you for showcasing your gorgeous skill when it comes to the character building, the conceptual illustration stuff. Let me know if there's anything you need from me. I'll do my best to reciprocate. I hope you enjoyed this, everybody. And as always, I hope you learned something new. Happy September 14th. Not a special day, except Jessie's here, so it's very special. Enjoy your weekend, everybody, if we don't see you. And this is officially the 4th Common Ground Artist Lecture Series. Thank you, Jessie.
Thank you, Jessie.
Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
If you have any questions, Jessie, just shoot me an email. And have a great evening, everybody. I'll see you all tomorrow.